Hi, my name is Karley. I'm an applied diplomacy major with a concentration in international law with minors in French, political science, sports communication, and legal and public affairs. I feel like in the current world we're in is having the ability to facilitate conversations and having sitting down ability between different nations, and with going into more of a multipolar world, diplomacy is more important, as we've seen, to like not go straight to arms and fighting and war and battles in a way, but instead to have a sit down discussion, which as a multipolar world, diplomacy is starting to be more needed, and understanding and having the ability to bridge cultures and bridge gaps in communication that could be there. I'm from Litchfield Park, Arizona, and I graduated high school at 16. So I was like, I want to leave Arizona, and I was very adamant on that. And luckily, my family is from here on my dad's side. So there was a lot of family around, and my parents used to live here. So they knew people. They were like, okay, if you're really adamant about going out of state, you can go to Chicago. And then I ended up getting accepted to DePaul as a political science major at first. So then I started staying like in Chicago, started a political science major, and then diplomacy, citizens diplomacy was cross-listed as a political science course, which is the first diplomacy class I had taken. And I felt better in that major, and I felt more intrigued in the class, as well as Professor Wellman and Professor Wiseman are very good at like hands-on and like understanding where you're coming from, and kind of knowing how you as a person talk and like what your interests are and letting you pursue those interests, which I was able to do with the grade school, as well as get more involved with language and getting more down with French, which is the language I decided to take. So I chose my concentration of international law because I plan to go to law school next year, as well as it's just I'm very always interested in law and wanting to have that ability to stay there. And then my first minor, French, with what I want to do originally, I would need a French language basis and fluency if I wanted to go to the International Criminal Court, which, as I've changed at DePaul, it's gone into sports law, but still with working with the NHL, you need French language. So that's kind of still stayed in there. I kept my political science minor because there was ability to cross list, as well as I still had classes I'd taken from there. So I was like, okay, I'll just put it there. I'll have it. There's some classes that interest me and professors I really liked in the political science department that I still wanted to be able to take. And then sports communication, as I mentioned, I want to go work in the NHL agency. So that's kind of where we get the sports communication following me around, which I've taken classes such as sports sales, which I was able to get sales experience with the Chicago Blackhawks because that was a partnered with the class, and learning how different sales techniques and ways to do that, which was really fun and very useful in agency because you need to basically sell your client, sell yourself. And then lastly, I have legal and public affairs, obviously law school, more law techniques. And with that minor right now, I'm at a PR class, which directly takes to where what I want to do. Like agency, if you're like the agent for a player, you kind of need to help them a little bit with their PR, and also get more experts who are in PR as well. So one of the main experiences on campus that kind of bridge gap with diplomacy is I was involved with Greek life. I'm in the Phi Mu Fraternity on campus Romeo chapter, and that gave me more experience with different people who have different ideas, and like kind of more of that people experience, as well as being able to reach out to people in different chapters, fraternities and sororities, and bridging gaps and bridging communication. During my time, I was for the 2025-2026 year, starting that winter quarter, I was Sigma Phi Epsilon Sweetheart, where I kind of communicated with them, communicated back to my chapter, and involved with both chapters in a way, and bridging like a communication and trying to understand like where everyone is, and kind of connecting with both chapters in a way. As well as through that, I have three littles, who is kind of like a mentorship, and like you're kind of also very close friends with them, and kind of they give you advice, you get them advice, and it's been like a very enriching opportunity. as well as in formal recruitment. I have been an RC, which is also advising potential new members, also known as PNMs, through the process, helping them with their stress, helping them with what's going on, getting dropped from chapters in that way, or getting their chapter and helping them get ready for the next round of recruitment. I've also been an RT, which is a recruitment team, which is the door people, which you communicate with the chapter as well as with the PNMs, as well as the advisors of the chapter, and making sure that there's bridges in communication and understanding where that has gone. And this past winter quarter, because of how my schedule turned out, I was able to go to a working in hockey networking event where I met with Cook Stark Agency, which is a women's sports agency, and have been able to communicate and get advice from them as well, which has been very helpful with where my career path is going. With being a part of the honors program at DePaul, I was able to do an honors senior thesis as a course option for my senior year. In this, I chose to do a senior thesis titled Free Bird or Free Trade, how the NHL grew into an international business and how the effects of the US-Canadian tariffs affect the league. With this, I looked into the different tariffs in that affect it, the broad 20% tariff, the Canadian tariffs on agriculture, and kind of how that affects the NHL products and how things rise, but also looked into a bit of sports diplomacy in a way how Canada uses hockey in a way to use soft diplomacy and push kind of Canadian presence in the world, and which is kind of interesting, and how the NHL also is very broad and where 1/3 of their teams is in Canada, but their headquarters is in the US, but they started in Montreal. So that's kind of the shift in there as well, which is kind of where my senior thesis dove into. And I worked with Professor Gott, who is in both the international studies as well as the applied diplomacy department, as my advisor. And then Professor Wellman was on my team as well as the reader. After graduation, I have been accepted to St. Thomas University College of Law in Miami, Florida, which I will be attending for starting the 2026-2027 school year, where I'll spend 3 years getting my JD and then pursuing agency afterwards.